6 or 7.
It's not about what you're capable of. It's about what you're willing to do.
Young Aaron Nagler have wanted a Raven to ride his bike.
100%, absolutely. But I will say, props to Armin because he owns it, right? He's a diehard, and he is like completely in his feelings for why he doesn't want a Raven touching his bike.
Now, please welcome from Cheesehead TV, Aaron Nagler and Bill Schmid.
Carry the G Radio coming off a big Packers win. Aaron Nagler here holding it down in New York City. Bill Schmid coming to us from a remote location. Where in the world are you, Bill?
The most dangerous place for them to put me, Aaron Nagler, on the 15th of any month, which, as many people know, is payday.
No.
I'm at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and it is maybe the greatest location in the city of Milwaukee to watch sports, definitely to invest on sports, the only place legally in Milwaukee to be able to invest on sports. Nice. But just to sit back, watch a game with a couple of cold drinks and some amazing food, this is the best place to be at. I've
got myself a cold drink, Billy. It's ice water, you might notice, in a Carry the G glass.
Oh, okay. There we go. In the Carry the G glass.
But we're going ice water today because we went hard last night, Billy. So we're playing a little slow today, playing a little catch up, trying to get back in the groove.
I like that. Okay, so now I got to imagine, or I got to wonder, was the going hard from last night, was that because of just the city of New York, the state of New York, just in an absolute tizzy with sports all over the place? Was that the issue?
What's so funny is like all of this sports was going on, but my girlfriend's parents were in town, so we got after it.
Way better, yes.
Got after it at the Let Love In here in Astoria. It was a good time. I was keeping track of the scores and the games, and I did get to see the second half and watch Aaron Rodgers throw a soul-crushing interception. So, I didn't miss it all. But, mostly I was just out and about. It was a good time.
Well, and you made it longer than I did because your boy potentially fell asleep after battles with a sick young child. It was an early night in the household last night. And indeed, waking up this morning, seeing, it was a close game. That was a nice battle, but they come up short. What lever will that team pull? Well, they pulled the emergency Devontae Adams lever, and amazing content machine that the New York Jets and Woody Johnson have come to for the National Football League.
They really are, and we'll get to that. We'll discuss it. I don't want people on Spotify comments yelling at me later today about, I didn't tune in for Jets carry the J.
Carry the J.
I don't need it. I don't need that in my life, Billy.
Yeah, we don't need that.
But you know what I do need? I do need to let people know some pretty big news, a pretty big development here for the Carry the G weekly.
You better believe it.
Confab between yourself, myself, and apparently a third party will be joining us on the regular. Is that true?
Do we want to hear a little something about that third party that's going to be joining us?
I think that's a fabulous idea.
I think our friend Lil Pipe's got something that he would like to bring us to celebrate the newest addition to Carry the G Radio.
Let's do it.
Here's the handoff, Dylan blasting right side along the hash marks, rambling his way inside the 45. Down he goes, 29-yard field flipping pass play to the running back A.J. Dillon.
Okay, this is. Wow.
Give to Dillon again, picks his way up the middle between the hash marks, fighting his way to the end zone for the touchdown. A.J. Dillon, 5-yard touchdown run.
We can really be a very special team, and, just everything. The sky's the limit.
A.J. Dillon, wow.
Outstanding. Not only the John Williams score, a wow from Wayne Larrivee, all summing up the fact that A.J. Dillon will be joining us each and every week here on Carry the G Radio starting next Tuesday. Bill Schmid, I don't know how you did it. I don't know who we had to bamboozle for this to happen, but very excited to have A.J. joining us every week for the remainder of the season starting next week.
Dude, fired up. If anybody that plays and has played for the Green Bay Packers has carried the G throughout the state of Wisconsin, came to Wisconsin and said, why don't you just slap that G right there on my big old bicep? It's been A.J. Dillon.
Absolutely.
So I think for somebody to join the fray to help carry this G throughout the state, I don't know if there's many better people than the mayor of Door County to be able to roll through here. We'll have some cold Carry the G cream ales, probably
Got to.
some wings at AC Tab, a lot of fun,
There you
and
go.
even better, hopefully a run all the way to the Super Bowl with this thing.
That's what I'm talking about. You, me, AJ down on Bourbon Street, New Orleans, Super Bowl week. Now
That's
we're
what I'm
talking.
talking about.
Now we're talking.
We're talking. Yes.
And you know how they're going to get there? By
That's a
continuing to play like they did on Sunday at Lambeau Field. What a complete game, Billy. What a complete game. That's the team I think a lot of people thought we were going to see coming out of the gate in 2024.
Yeah, and Mike Heller asked LaFleur one of the questions during the postgame, it was Jordan Love. Asked Jordan Love the question in the postgame, is this what you feel like your offense should look like and can look like? And it was kind of a redundant, well, yeah, I mean, score 34 points is definitely what we should look like.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it was the physicality in which they played with on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Hell yeah.
Complementary football on both sides is so key in today's game. And Nags, I think one of my favorite parts was when John Kuhn joined Drew and I just before we went on for Packers OT. And then yesterday we were kind of talking about it of, well, are they going to be good at getting stops without getting turnovers? That's a remarkable problem to have.
I'm down with champagne
turnovers
problems
slow
like that.
down through the first third of the season that we've gotten. Are they still going to be able to get stops? I think they will. And that's a great way for Jeff Hafley's tenure in Green Bay to start with that kind of champagne problem.
Well, look at the biggest kind of swing in that game, right? Where they do get a stop and they get a punt return from Keyshawn Nixon up that left sideline, looking like Desmond Howard back in the day up the sideline at Lambeau Field, setting up the ball there just inside the 50. Shot play, one play drive to Christian Watson. Offense, thank you very much. Go sit down. I mean, talk about complimentary football. All three phases getting involved there. Now, yes, there are mitigating things. You missed a kick. You know, there certainly were drives where the Cardinals were able to take advantage on offense. But that wasn't until you had a 3-score lead. That's my thing. Like, you look at this game and the way the Packers absolutely asserted their dominance right out of the gate. The Cardinals, I think, had one first down by the time the Packers had 17 points. You know, that's taking control of the football game against a team, by the way, looked pretty damn good the week previous out there in San Francisco. You come in and you shut them down early in that game. You get up on them multiple scores, make them somewhat one-dimensional. I mean, we all know Connor's a legit back, and they had him under wraps for much of the day, partly because they got out ahead so quickly. So, yeah, if there's a formula, I'm down to follow this. That is a complete win, complete team win. Pretty much everyone getting involved, including, Billy, I got to say, some unsung guys like Emmanuel Wilson. How good is this kid? The fact that you went out and spent what you did to get Josh Jacobs, he's your headliner. I thought he had a lot of really tough yards, really good job keeping the offense ahead of the sticks in this game. But you don't miss much or lose much when Emmanuel Wilson gets in there. Obviously, he's a different back, but holy cow. Talk about improvement, a guy who's really worked on all the aspects of his game, not just, we talked a lot this summer about, okay, he needs to get better in pass pro so they can trust him out there. Well, not only has he improved there, he's improved as a runner. He's improved his game as a receiver in the screen game, which apparently, I guess it's contractually obligated now. He has to bust a big screen at least once a game at this point. That's the kind of role player that the Packers seemingly have found, like, just again and again and again. And Wilson now is the latest to be, all right, this is a guy we can count on. He's not a superstar, but he's going to help make this offense go.
Yeah, and for him to be able to spell Jacobs the way he did was so vital because, Nags, you're right. Time. Like, the yards aren't, the stat line's not glamorous for Jacobs. There aren't a ton of highlight plays. However, there's some physical 6- and 7-yard runs. And like you mentioned, staying ahead of the chains was, I thought, the biggest part of it. We talked about it so much a week ago as to why the offense sputtered in Los Angeles was because they were unable to stay on the field on third down, and they were unable to stay ahead of the chains. A lot of that with costly penalties. Didn't have as many of those.
Did a good job getting rid of most of those, no doubt.
And I love that you mentioned the shot play to Watson because I thought you hear the complimentary football phrase thrown out all the time.
Right.
And generally it comes with players, right? Because as much as we talk about the coaches and it's the easiest thing to nitpick, it's a player's game. You win and lose games because of the players on the field. And for the coaches to complement what is happening on the field, That's taking a shot play after you get a break and a big return.
Sudden change, right?
Stomp down on the neck.
Sudden
Be
change.
sudden in the midst of that sudden change to add more chaos to the situation. Like, I thought that was a massive part of being able to just put away Arizona a couple of different times.
Well, and then you hear both Love and then LaFleur after the game talking about that play in particular, how they saw something that Arizona was doing and took advantage of it with a play that hadn't been put in the game plan during the week. It was somewhat drawn up on the sideline, but also referencing things they've done in the past.
Yeah.
But that's a play they haven't repped during the week of practice, and they pull it off. Classic under center play action. There goes Watson streaking over the middle. I mean, there's not a safety in sight. He's just running away from a guy. That's beautiful. And if you can execute at that high level on command with a play that, again, you haven't repped at all, that's pretty impressive. And again, I think the whole game swings on that sequence. That is where the Packers take over that game.
It was the turning point of the game on Packers OT, and it was our first ever 3-part turning point of the game, because it really does. Think about it. To start, that is the fumble from Jaden Reed on the punt.
Horse collar tackle.
Yeah, right. Horse collar tackle ends up getting nullified. Nixon comes in because Reed's into the pop-up tent, takes it 40 yards almost to the crib, and then one play later you're into the end zone. It's 24-zip. And even though that could feel like wraps, we talked to Evan Williams after the game on Packers OT, Nags, and it just couldn't be, because not only of what you watched a week ago or 2 weeks ago at Lambeau, and then what you watched a week ago with Arizona do, that was a team that was not going to give up. And even when the Packers aided them a couple of times, they still were able to kick them back down the stairs.
Well, there's a moment there where it's 24-10 and the Cardinals are driving, and you're wondering, like, if they score here, it's 24-17 before the half, and it's a very different ball game. And then, you know, they have to settle for a field goal. It's 13 points, and they never score again. I mean, the Packers defense really, you talk about exciting times in the secondary. Billy, we talked about Evan Williams a lot last week. We're going to talk about Evan Williams a lot this week. I think we're going to be talking about Evan Williams every week. I am so excited by this kid. You know, with Xavier McKinney entering year 5, all the picks to start the season, he's gotten a lot of shine for good reason. But I think they've found his running mate. And I love what they've done as far as utilizing Bullard in the slot, closer to the line of scrimmage, allowing him to use that physicality. But, man, Williams, this is 2 games in a row where I thought he played absolutely lights out. And for a rookie, making essentially his second start, I know he played one more game, kind of getting his feet wet prior to these last 2. But, I mean, he's been thrust into a starting role these last 2 weeks, and he has absolutely delivered.
Yeah, and I messed up when I was watching it, saying that they had 2 day 2 picks on the field at the same time, because he's the day 3 pick that they go up and trade for.
Yep.
But in the mix there at the back end of the game, you have Edgerrin Cooper lining up inside linebacker. You got Bullard up at the slot, just wreaking havoc wherever possible. And Evan Williams in the back end, maybe being the most impactful, being on the field, maybe the most.
Right.
But also, like, he plays his way onto the field, Nags, but lost in the shuffle here is how well Keyshawn Nixon is playing on the outside to allow them to push Bullard down and then to have Williams in the back end. Like, in the synchronicity of them all moving around and the chess pieces moving to then be able to play even better, that's a wild piece of this.
Well, it's funny, too. I was talking to Andy Herman on Let's Talk Football earlier this week, and you know, I do feel kind of bad for like Valentine and Valentine, who couldn't get on the field on Sunday, or even Eric Stokes, who was on the field at times. But, you know, all this Nixon on the perimeter stuff these last 2 weeks, when they've faced a not exactly murderer's row of wide receivers.
Well said.
3 weeks ago, you got Valentine out there having to lock down Addison and Jefferson. He's got to be sitting there on the sideline going, "Oh, you know, I could have taken care of these guys." Like,
I got Jefferson and he gets Dortch.
I know, right?
What the hell happened?
That's what I'm saying. Like, look, I don't want to take anything away from Keyshawn, because I think he has played extremely well these last 2 weeks. I would say surprisingly well on the outside, given that he hasn't done a whole lot of that. They've run him at the slot almost exclusively the last couple of years, certainly at training camp this year. And there he is on the perimeter holding it down. And I think looking good, pretty good doing it. Now, this week, coming up, that's a whole nother world. That's a whole nother set of problems that they're going to be having to deal with in the secondary as far as what the Texans can throw at you, not only at wide receiver, but at tight end as well. This is going to be the test. We're all feeling great. Got the 2 wins in a row,
right here.
feeling really good, but the
Oh, yeah.
Texans are coming to town, man, and they look good. They look real good.
I like that you're already moving forward.
Baby,
and this is
Baby,
one
what
of
are we
my
doing here
favorite
if we're
parts.
not looking
There's
forward? You're
victories
looking
that we
forward.
start looking
You're getting
forward.
better. You're getting worse, Billy.
So are we getting better? Are we getting better at the one spot that only anybody wants to talk about on the football team? Listen, this first segment was so much fun. Now I had a lot of people. John Kuhn asked me where you were sitting on the kicker thing, and I know we got a long next segment to be able to get into it. That's the only quibble that you have in a 21-point victory.
Yep.
These are good days.
Should have been a 24-point victory if homeboy can make his kick, but that's just me.
Listen, or we just go for 2 and go score a touchdown.
We got to increase this point differential, Billy. We're on the bottom of the
I
NFC
like
North.
that. Okay, yes, I like that.
Got to get that point differential up. We can't be behind the Bears in this nonsense. Come on now. Every missed kick matters.
If you missed it, the news of the day for us, the big announcement that we've been waiting for, coming up starting next week, AJ Dillon going to carry the G with us every single week right here on Carry the G Radio. Not many people in a Packers uniform carry the G quite like AJ Dillon, and I'm excited to see how he carries it with us here, Nags, week in and week out, talking Packers football. And hopefully talking about Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson continuing to run through Joker's faces.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll tell you what I'm excited to ask AJ Dillon about. My man Jordan Morgan with a nice little left-hand seal.
Boom.
You want to talk about the youngsters coming in? 77 making an impact in there. Aaron
Good to see him out there. Good to
Quite
see
a
him
bit
out
in
there
there.
mixing it up. And of course you call him out, Mr. Offensive Line. I love it. I absolutely love it. His tape is good, right? His tape is good.
It was looking good.
A lot to clean up. A lot to work on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, listen, week 1. Come on, lot to clean up.
But, promising. Very promising.
You come off that double team there with Zach Thomas just shielding the left hand. Jacobs right behind you.
So
listen, there's a lot of things that change the complexion of the Packers press box. Not quite like when they needed a new countertop after that seal that was made right there on that second quarter run. I mean, just an amazing situation.
Did you have an accident? Did something happen
So
up there in the
fired
press
up.
box? Yeah. Started?
May have cracked the.
Sir, there's no cheering in the press box, sir.
No one's cheering over here. No one's cheering over here. You guys quiet down over there. This is a professional.
It is like a mausoleum up there. I will say, I do miss being in the press box, but I do not miss the fact that I had to be church mouse quiet up in there.
See, you and I would have fun in the third row because that's where they put me in the third row, right? So all the important people first row,
on the front,
TV people second row,
yeah,
and then I stand in the back and I just
the Joker's in the
stand
third
up
row
on all the important spots. All right, sit back down. Get up.
Oh, don't miss that. Do not
just
miss
little
that.
quarter squats, Nags. My watch
Yeah.
always appreciates it.
It's good. It's good. Love it.
414
We're just getting
799
started,
1973 is where
baby.
people can interact with us as well as the YouTube comments, Nags, which are buzzing already. And we're going to hit some coming up here on the other side.
throwing down some Bob Seger. That is what I am talking about here. Carry the G Radio coming at you on a Tuesday afternoon with Bob Seger. I think that's a first for this year program, Billy. I like that.
See, now Pipe Bomb in the studio is going to bring much better musical selections than I ever could possibly imagine.
Well,
so I'm just
know.
glad that he's hitting some right.
He'll know some music. Like you just don't know any
plenty
music. That's the problem there. That's the issue we're dealing with.
He's trying to get me to go to Guar coming up here pretty soon.
I'm gonna have to veto Guar, but you have a great time. You go right ahead.
Veto that one.
You have the best time, buddy. I'm gonna be over here just doing my thing.
I love the amount of people that just line up and can't wait to hang out with us here on Carry the G Radio. And people are like, I'm ready to chow down, listen to some Packers talk, hang out with my lunch break, and enjoy conversation. I just love the active and activity and the active listenership on the YouTube stream.
Oh yeah,
is just second to absolutely
nothing gets by them. I had someone complaining that I was chewing while we were on the air. That I'm chewing the ice.
Oh, God.
The ice, ladies and gentlemen, the
you?
ice. I need the ice, Billy.
So you are an ice chewer. Now, I have been told by our guy,
good.
Doug Russell, the Love Muscle, he got some dental work done. And they kind of chastised him for
the
chewing
ice
the
chewing.
Now, I've tried to stop. However, no, not good at it.
Ain't never going to stop, man. Ain't never going to stop. You know, be
stop.
what you are. Like, figure out who you are and then be who you are.
Be
I'm
that
an ice
you.
chewer. It's just who I am. It's how I live. It's how I roll. And look, could you save like, the teeth are going to go or whatever? Fine. Like, then that's what, the universe has in store for me. And I'll
Natural
embrace
erosion.
that. It's just who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. At this point in my life, 51 years on this planet, Billy, I've spent an entire lifetime coming to grips with who I am. I'm not going to forego it just because someone said something to me about like, you could save your teeth. I don't want to save my teeth. I want to chew my ice. Thank you very much.
My teeth don't want saving. How about that? Maybe you thought about that one once or twice.
What did Wild Bill say in Deadwood? Can you let me go to hell the way I want to? That's all I want. let me deal with this in my own way.
Well, and now maybe that's the way that the Packers are thinking of with this kicker situation, because there's many people that say this is going to bite him. This is going to come back and get him. This is going to come back and get him. Nags, I for one, I'm just not so sold. Like I understand kicking is important. I understand it's a massive part of the game.
Right.
You don't lose games because of kickers. You lose games because you don't convert third downs. You don't get good positive plays on first down. You don't score enough touchdowns. You don't get enough stops. That's all I've always felt about the position.
That's ball.
However, it is the number one story, and some people are saying we need to get this guy out of here. Some people are saying Brian Gutekunst might just want to do what you just said from Deadwood. Would you just let me go to hell the way I want to? Because I got to be patient with these specialists because I know I'm not patient enough.
Well, here's the thing, though. Okay, I mean, God, we're really talking about kickers again? Are we really?
Thank you.
Look,
thank you. I'm so glad you said it that way.
Look,
thank you.
This cat should have been cut after the Vikings game. We all know this. Clearly, he has not been. Hasn't been cut after this game. He's not going to be cut. So I'm just living in a world where I understand that every time I see him line up on the right hash, he's probably going to miss. Don't even give me distance. I don't care about distance.
Yep.
If it's on the right hash, he's going to miss. And if he makes it, it's going to be a really pleasant surprise. That's the world I'm living in, Billy.
That's a good place to live in, because there is and I wonder how this doesn't stop, right? Where they are a draft and develop organization. And always have been, always want to be. Did they draft Braden Narvison? No. However, their development part of that program, I think they want to keep with. And as painful as it is for some to watch, as frustrating as it is for many people to continue to listen to,
right.
I don't think it's changing. So I borrow the Nick Saban.
It's not.
So quit asking, right? Like, I don't know it's gonna change. So just quit asking.
You're
and
so on point there.
Otherwise, right?
That is so 100% on point. You're absolutely spot on. It's true.
It's one of my favorite Sabanisms. But at some point, when people continue to ask for something that's not going to happen, you just got to say, just quit asking. They're going to keep rolling him out there, and he's either going to get better, and then maybe you can still be the one to say, I still don't trust it. Or he's not going to get better. he will inevitably get cut, and then you can say, I told you and I was right. So at some point, it's all going to be okay.
It'll come out in the wash is what I think here at this point. Look, I don't want to talk about the kicker anymore. I'm done talking about the kickers.
Thank you.
I was done talking about the kicker like 3 weeks ago. We all know he should have been cut. He wasn't cut. Onward we go. He's going to miss. If he makes it, I'm happy and I'm surprised. So that's where I'm living.
We're happy. Yes,
but I want to talk about something my good friend Dara put up there across the ocean. I've only met Dara twice, but once in London and once in Brazil. It's like, this is how we roll. We only see each other when the Packers play in some city, not in America. So Dara this morning, in the wake of the Davante Adams trade, had a great tweet that I wanted to share with you. Young, fun Packers team with a great coach / QB combo, and I get to watch the stars of days gone past throw the ball around in the AFC. Pardon the positivity, but it's such a great time to be a Packers fan. That is exactly where I am. Like I've seen a lot of maybe not division, but I've seen a lot of snark about the Adams trade already. I've seen a lot of, obviously coming off of last night's game with Rodgers and pretty much throwing Williams under the bus on that final pass. We got used to that. Don't miss that at all. But I've seen a lot of that, and just Adara's take there. That is absolutely it. I'm going to really enjoy watching Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, not having to live and die with it. I get to watch them do what they're going to do, put up a bunch of yards, points, what have you, all while the Packers have a very young, exciting, ascending team. I think it's a pretty great place for Packers fans to be living right now.
Yeah, it's not a bad spot. It's a pretty damn good spot to be in. I do struggle with it, Nags, and I went back and forth with Kuhn about it earlier on today. I feel like I may have been hoodwinked. I feel like I may have been duped.
Bamboozled?
Bamboozled is a fantastic word for it. I don't know why I believed it would be much different for the Jets in 2024 than it has been in years past. And I also, as much as I want to see, and watching 8 sling that thing, turning back, firing the ball to Garrett Wilson, he can still make some incredible throws.
Oh, man. Yes.
Clearly has taken a step or two back, right? Like there is clearly a little bit of age that is catching up to.
He is 40 years old, He's
40 years old, coming off an Achilles, and the last time he was really good, Nags, he was the MVP of the league, yes. But that was 2021.
Yep.
And I was still living with my parents. So you can go in through the amount of life that we've all lived since. It's been a long time.
Wow, what a take. Wow.
But it's been a long time.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Great.
You are not wrong.
Even though there's still the moment of the Hail Mary and he does it better than anybody, and the energy and the excitement is fantastic. I just believing that they're going to take it to this level. Maybe I should have just watched every sign in front of me saying that they're probably going to be this good if they reach their potential. And right now, it feels like a powder keg that is sitting right there on the firing line at the 4th of July celebration. And somebody is going to blast that grand finale up into the air.
Well, here's the one kind of ray of hope for them. And I'm going to get this back around to the Packers in this vein as well. The Jets have played the 6th toughest schedule in the league up to this point. They have, by far and away, the easiest remaining schedule in the league. So you add Davante into the mix, they might still have a chance here. We watched Rodgers in 2016 going an insane back half of the year run. Probably should have won the MVP that year. Matt Ryan won it, but probably should have been Aaron. So it's not, I don't count them out in any way at all. I do think part of it is how you've played. Part of it is who you play when you play them. And they've got a much easier schedule coming up. And I talk about the Packers in this regard because we've heard a lot about the NFC North over the course of the last kind of 24 hours because where those teams are sitting. Clearly the best division in football. Yeah. Everybody's got a winning record. Packers sitting in last place technically because they lost to the Vikings. The only inner division game that's even happened yet, right? Mm-hmm. The Lions have the 2nd toughest remaining schedule after the Bears. The Packers are 3rd and the Vikings are 8th. There's a whole lot to play out yet, and all of this is going to transpire over the course of the second half of the season when all these teams finally start beating up on each other. So that's what I'm talking about, the point differential, Billy. We got to start scoring more points and getting up on this
adding
thing
it up. Yep.
I think it's going to be tight all year. I don't see someone running. I know the Vikings are probably feeling really good about where they are coming out of bye, undefeated, but I do think this is going to get very, very, very tight and interesting down the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Nags. I don't see anyone really hardcore fading, right? Like, I don't see anybody dropping 5 straight and all of a sudden they're so far on the outside looking in.
Bears have a chance. Bears have a chance. This is what you and I talked about this summer, right?
Yep.
And you were spot on when you talked about the schedule being favorable to getting Caleb Williams up to kind of speed, right? And you certainly, these last 2 weeks, look
now
really
he's buzzing
good.
a little bit. Yep.
He's looked really good. Now, he's beating up on the Jaguars. He's playing, some substandard teams, and a bunch of 1-win teams are all the teams that the Bears have beaten.
Enjoying their last place schedule.
Their schedule gets a lot tougher here coming up. So I'm not saying they can't rise to that occasion. They very well could. I'm just saying they've been feasting on some cupcakes now, and now things are about to get real for them. So,
yeah, I want to say it's week 11 is when they play Green Bay, and that's really when their schedule completely changes, right?
Yep.
Then they'll have had their bye week in there, and I do find it's so odd as to how the schedule makers did it. Where you're only playing 2 divisional games before the bye, and so loaded at the back half. But for us in the viewing public, it's fantastic because it sets up for some remarkable games in the back half of the schedule, and they're all going to be super meaningful, right? Like we already knew that Lions game would be a fantastic tipping point of the season going into your bye week.
Yep.
Now it's made even bigger, Nags, with the injury that they suffered.
The Hutchinson injury, man, that is tough.
It's a brutal beat in the game. It's a brutal beat in the game, but now you look at that game quite a bit differently at home, where last year they beat you up in
with their
Lambeau,
front four, 100%. Yep.
With their front four.
No doubt.
I'm glad you said it that way, because they were able to get pressure with 4 and make you uncomfortable all night long. I don't know they're consistently going to be able to do that without Aiden Hutchinson or
before they trade for Hassan Reddick. I'm kidding. They're not trading for Hassan Reddick. Although Reddick is available. So
he's available. CFL team's going crazy. Like I don't know that any NFL team is waiting to want to bring that right into the locker room. But who knows? Somebody will.
We have John in the chat here. Are the Lions still contenders without Hutchinson? I think so. I think they're talented enough. I don't think that completely, blows their chances or anything like that. The margin for error, a little different. No question about it. To your point, being able to rush 4 and play whatever roulette of coverages you want on the back end. That's a luxury that Aaron Glenn is no longer going to be able to afford. He's going to have to change a little
bit. Big time.
A little bit.
I'd say yes, but Nags, I'm having a hard time seeing them winning 3 or 4 playoff games without Aiden Hutchinson. Right? Like, and when you're talking about being a real contender, he might be their best football player, right? Like, is he their best player overall?
This year, the way he had been playing, I would agree with that. I think.
Yeah, they got great guys on offense. They have fantastic skill position dudes, but in a gotta have it moment, I don't know that I see them getting off the field unless they're able to bring in somebody that brings somewhat of a level of energy that he does. But he just does so much for them up front. I'm struggling to see it. Now that is prisoner of the moment.
That's what I'm talking about, though,
because than anybody else. So that is a part of it, but they can upset somebody's day.
Glenn's a good coordinator, right? And it's incumbent upon him to adjust. And I'm fascinated to see how he does. And I do think they've still got lots of pieces. But yeah, he's a field tilter, and he's gone. And that certainly opens the door a little bit for the rest of the division because of the fact that they can't play the way they want to or the way they wanted to.
Correct. Yep.
Coming into this season, which they had been doing, and very at a high level, playing very well. Man, this is why I always talk about it's not about how you're playing in September. It ain't even how you're playing at this point of the season. It's all about who's available and how you're playing late December into January. That's what it's all about. Because, we saw this team last year, this team being the Packers, really struggle, really unable to, score touchdowns, let alone win games early in the season.
Fair. Yeah.
They got hot right when they needed to, started figuring it out. I think it feels like, again, with the youngest team in the league, Packers a little ahead of schedule this time. Like, I think it feels like they're drawing on that experience from last year. Some stumbles out of the gate, no question about it. Some mitigating circumstances there, but kind of figuring it out. Kind of figuring out who does what well, where to put them, how they're going to operate both on offense and defense. This is when you want to start kind of gelling, and then hopefully back half of the season, you're playing your best ball.
And starting to figure out, you mentioned who your best players are. What are the best spots for those guys to be deployed in, right? And what time of the game do you need to get somebody an early touch? And amazing how quickly 1 week's time can curtail the biggest conversation that we had a week ago, right? One game, 2 touchdowns. Quickly, nobody's worried about everybody being happy and lovey-dovey in the locker room with the Romeo Doubs conversation next.
I said this on my post-game chat, and I'll reiterate it here. The team has taken care of it in regards to suspending the young man and then welcoming him back, getting him involved in the game plan. Serious kind of uplift after those scores from his teammates. It's very clear the team's in a good spot with it. So me sitting here on the outside, I'm fine with it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm turning the page. I'm totally fine. Now, look, I wish the best for the young man. I hope he's getting the support he needs for whatever he's dealing with or has dealt with. Maybe he's not dealing with it anymore. The point is, I don't know. We don't know on the outside. I love the Green Bay Packers. I love that he's back contributing. If the team's cool and has moved past it, I'm right there with him. 100%.
Then I'm right there with him. Yeah, I'm right there with you as well. And if he's going to be continuing making plays like that in the pass game, Jordan Love.
I'm really back. I'm totally fine with it.
Then I'm always there. Then it's going to be Romeo. Where art thou, Romeo?
Where art thou, Romeo? Oh, I'm in the freaking end zone. No
Let's
doubt.
go. That's a great censor for the FCC.
I'm right here for. I'm for you. I'm with you, Billy. I know in the past I have slipped up, but today and all days going forward, I'm here for you, buddy. There will be no slip ups. There will be no F-bombs. There'll be no problematic language. This creature of the internet is figuring this stuff out, much like the Packers having to figure out what they're good at, what they're allowed, not allowed to do.
Yeah, allowed.
How to operate within certain confines of the situation. That's what I'm doing, Billy. I'm figuring it out. It's only taken what? What have we been doing this now? A year and a half? I'm just figuring it out.
But it's only week 7, so we're starting to get into mid-season form in 2024.
I can't believe it's week 7, dude.
Yeah, it's not fair. It needs to slow down.
It feels like it was just training. It was just training camp, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
you were just baking in the sun out there at Radnitsky Field like yesterday.
And you were willing in the cold weather into existence by wearing a sweatshirt in week 2, and now I can't leave my house without my boots on because
I love it.
Freeze warnings in Wisconsin. So
we finally got cold air last night in New York. I mean, finally.
Just wait. This front's coming. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. I'm very excited.
There's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid. It's Carry the G Radio. I'm live from the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The studio is immaculate. The Sportsbook even better. I'm going to dive into some of the food here as well as we continue. And we're going to continue diving into more Packers and Texans conversation as we do look forward, because that's what we like to do. We focus on the wins that can come, and that's the next one ahead of us. Next segment's ahead. That's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid. It's Carry the G Radio on the game.
Carry the G Radio rolls on. Final segment of the first hour. Bill Schmid holding it down. Aaron Nagler here. And I think, Billy, there's no doubt that we are, if nothing else, men of the people. And I believe we have someone waiting on the line to speak to us named Thomas. Is there a Thomas in the house?
Yes, Thomas is in Alaska, and he is now joining us on Carry the G Radio, the podcast, the radio show. Thomas, what's on your mind today?
Yeah. Hey, you can call me Tom. The only people that call me Thomas are like bill collectors and people who don't know me. So.
Oh, you don't know. We're definitely collecting a bill here. So yeah, Thomas, we're gonna need to know that. Yeah, we're gonna need to get paid.
I was on my quick lunch break. Ironically, going over to Wendy's to get something for lunch, and I'm an English teacher, and I heard you do the reference of Romeo Dobbs.
Oh, here
and
we
you
go.
said, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" And then
Here
you
we
said,
go.
"Hey, I'm here in the end zone." I thought it was a cute play on words, but I wanted to clarify for those of you who don't know. Wherefore art thou, Romeo, literally means why are you Romeo? Because they're actually questioning his
Correct.
last name of Montague because
Correct.
Juliet is a Capulet and their families are warring. So she's asking, why do you have to be from a family?
Why do you have to be part of that family? Yeah.
Yep.
Here's what you might not know, Thomas. I am a classically trained actor who is well aware of this. And it is funny because I've been saying it basically since Romeo got in the league. And every once in a while, I will get someone either on Twitter or in our watch party chat saying, well, you know what the thing is. It's like, yes, I'm aware. It's just fun to say, Tom.
I said I took fun in it.
I know. It's just this does pop up legit every week. Almost every week that someone points this out. But you are a billion% correct.
And the best thing is Tom was doing it as a Packers fan to be like, dude, that's awesome. I love this. Can I also just throw this in there? Just a little anecdote instead of, the people that are probably, I'm going to stat correct Nagler here. Actually, what you do not understand is I just love the fact that Tom's like, dude, that's a great, let me drop this thing in here. And
Tom, I got a quick question for you before we have to head to another break. But what if it is Romeo and Juliet, that's fine. But do you have a favorite Shakespeare play?
Oh, Nags, he's gone. Come on. He just wanted to try to dunk on you with that one. He already hung up. He dropped that one line in there and he's already done. Come on. He just wanted
I'm trying to engage in a dialogue with my man here and he's hanging up.
Down.
Well, I hope he enjoys his lunch at Wendy's. I hope he gets all the beef because that was the thing back in the day. Where is the beef? Like we know where the beef is. It's at Wendy's apparently.
The beef is what's for dinner. I'm glad that you you like that one because there's a youngster on one of our football teams, or on our football team, the varsity team, Ben, nicknamed Beef. Parents just dropped off the "Where's the Beef" shirt, so that's that had to get busted. That's gonna have to get busted out for senior night coming up this week.
100%, absolutely love it.
Isn't it crazy how 1 hour just blinks and it's already gone?
It's over. Like we went through an hour already. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
It's frankly unfair that we only get 2 hours because now we only have halfway to go here on Carry the G Radio, and we got so much Packers and Texans still to talk about next.
Billy, we're at halftime. We got to make some adjustments. We got to come out. We're going to double up. Coming out of the gate, we're going to get the ball and we're going to score. That's what we're going to do.
That's what I'm talking about. Because we definitely just picked six Thomas there because Tom thought he was going to come in, dunk on Nags. Nags said,
you say that. I don't think he was trying to dunk. I'm with you. He wasn't trying to dunk. He was trying to be informative, and we appreciate it. I am a little bit sick of people saying it, though. I am just saying, like, I'm aware of what it means.
I'm a little done with this.
It's just fun to say. That's all. That's all it is.
Sometimes we just say things because they're fun. We actually don't mean them. That's how we get these jobs with microphones. That's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid. We're back after this. Hour 2 of Carry the G Radio is coming at you right after this.
Care of the G Radio Hour 2. Coming at you live. Aaron Nagler holding it down in New York City. Bill Schmid, he's doing something out there. Doing something in the Milwaukee area that, you know, I'm not fit for, but he was born for.
So, well, and the best thing is that the sports gambling that's going on here right now at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, some investing going on early in the day, is even better next because it's not me. I'm here with my friend Armin Sarian, and I just got to witness during that commercial break maybe the worst beat in sports gambling history from my guy Armin Sarian as he's betting some Asian World Cup qualifying soccer game. And it was Iran and Qatar, and my man loses on the under in the 98th minute. Now, Negs, you know the soccer a lot better than I do. They play 90 minutes generally. Correct. Then they just decide how many minutes they add on.
Stoppage time.
Yeah.
Adjudicated by the official, depending on how much time they've wasted with, you know, injuries.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
So some guy sitting on the turf needing some oxygen or some Gatorade or maybe a banana because he's cramping up is the reason why they played 98 minutes. Correct. And somebody puts one in the back of the net to rip up that final ticket for my man Armin. Like, that was horrible.
That's why they call it the beautiful game, Billy. It's the beautiful game.
Yeah, and I only laughed a lot because it wasn't my money. And now listen, I have been the expense of a lot of people's laughs in the sports investing world. So it's a tough game. People think they're just going to walk in here and start dominating the book. Snags. There's a reason why these Potawatomi Sportsbook studios.
House never loses, baby. Come on now. Come on.
They lost last week. We were hearing a lot about it.
Oh, yeah?
Tough week last week because favorites dominated in the NFL.
That's true.
And, hopefully that comes up here maybe this week.
That was crazy, too, how you looked across the board in the NFL this past Sunday in particular, but just the Buccaneers dropping 51, the Lions absolutely shellacking the Cowboys, Packers taking care of business against the Cardinals. All that talk, you remember early in the year about scoring being down, and then all of a sudden you get to a week like this, and points aplenty, points on offer with, you know, the teams that have competent offensive coordinators and talent. But there's some fun stuff going on in the NFL right now. I love how this is shaping up this season. All that stuff early in the year, people get so out ahead of their skis and then start to kind of course correct as the year goes on. And it's fun to watch develop.
And it seemingly happens year in and year out. However, we forget that it's going to happen year in and year out, where offenses are going to be ahead of defenses early in the game, right? Early in the season, you're going to see better execution on the defensive side than you will on the offensive side. And now you'll start seeing over the next, 4 to 6 weeks. We were talking about it on 9 to noon yesterday, almost like in a golf tournament on Saturday. They call it moving day. Yep. This will start being moving weeks in the NFL. Right. The next month and a half. Once we get to Thanksgiving, you'll have a pretty clear understanding as to who the real contenders are. But right now, there is a clustered mess at 4-2, 3-3, 2-4, and all those teams are still right in it.
Hey, man, I want to give a shout out to Dusty Lawson, who is a Carry the G Club member on our YouTube page. What an amazing game on Sunday, says Dusty. Our kids had an absolute blast at the game, met Leroy Butler pregame, danced a bang on the drum, and celebrated the win. Also, most importantly here, brought 32 cans of Carry the G home. That's what I'm talking about. Get yourself a 32-pack, ladies and gentlemen. Carry the G Cream Ale, available all throughout Wisconsin.
I'm just seeing Dusty and the kids are sitting in the car. Have themselves a great time at the game.
Dusty's like, I got to make one stop.
Yeah, I got to get one stop. One of them might be sleeping in the booster seat over into the back seat, right? Yep. And Dusty is strategically stacking these 8 4-packs and then like lining them up, pushing a couple of sweatshirts over to make sure that it doesn't dump over. Nope. Oh, that's fantastic.
Got to make sure it's all secured.
That had to happen to make sure that the beer was okay on the drive home had to be elite. By Dusty. I'm very proud of him for that.
Dusty, we appreciate you. We appreciate you getting the beer. We appreciate you being a Carry the G Club member. Really appreciate it. Absolutely outstanding stuff.
That is awesome.
I will say, Billy, you were there. I mean, Lambeau did look like a vibe on Sunday. The rain early.
Even in the rain.
And then the sun coming out. like something out of Lord of the Rings. Like, here come the good guys. They're beating up on the bad guys. That was a vibe. And it was, Corey kept talking about how, as the game went on and the Packers became more and more secure in what, obviously was leading towards victory, he was like, oh, Lambeau's getting nice and drunk now. And I was like,
Real
yeah,
drunk,
I can see that. I can feel it. It's good.
Yeah.
The vibes
you
look
could tell.
immaculate. Yeah.
You could tell it continued to ramp up and wasn't going to slow down.
There was no dip.
At any time.
There was no dip. Even when the Cardinals started to put some offensive drives together, it just felt like inevitable. The Packers had control of that game, and they weren't going to let it go.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it, Nags, was just the weather that set the tone early for the opponent, right? I mean, you get a dome team in a weather-impacted game. Kyler unable to scramble around like he wants to try to set the tone and set up the defense. Like, that was, I thought, a big part of the game that kind of gets forgotten about because it was so early, right? Like, the weather impacting the start and them not being able to get their feet up underneath them on offense in Arizona, that was what set the tone for the crowd to get even more rabid as the day went on.
And I love an October rainy Lambeau game. I just love the images. I love their shots of Josh Jacobs in the backfield after like a 5-yard run, and he's back there again, and the rain is just coming down, bouncing off his shoulder pads, on his face mask. I love that, Billy. That's Packers football for me. Like going back to like the 1960s and Taylor going on a sweep on the outside with the mud flying up off his cleats.
Flying all over the
That's
place.
What I'm talking about.
Well, maybe the best thing is that you can always spot what color poncho the Packers Pro Shop is selling, because that's the one that is
littered
most
throughout the stands.
Littered throughout the stands. Was good to just start seeing in the middle of the second quarter, people like, all right, I'm done with this thing. Ripping that bad boy off. Then in the third
guns
quarter,
out,
like,
guns
right,
out.
Hold on, let me unfold this thing. Let me make sure this thing shake that thing out and put it
Love
back
it.
on. At that point, you're already soaked. You might as well go back in there and enjoy it. And the way you could tell that Corey was right by Lambeau getting good and drunk throughout it was post-game, we leave for Packers OT right around 6:30, right? So game's been over.
Yep.
Still a large amount of cars in the parking lot. So that means that
partying going on, baby.
A couple of parties going on, maybe some people having a couple of final closers at Kroll's. There was a good time being had throughout that Sunday fun day.
Well, I'm talking about the rain and the mud and running in those conditions and at Lambeau. Something that the Packers PR folks put out right after the game that I absolutely glommed onto, because this is what I'm all about. The Green Bay Packers, 1,003 rushing yards, are their most in the first 6 games of a season since 1963. They're doing 60s-style football there at Lambeau Field, and I am loving it. The run game, setting up the play action, the run game controlling the game itself. I'm telling you, man, we sell a shirt in the Cheesehead TV shop called Run the Freaking Ball. We don't say freaking, but run the ball. I've been begging Matt LaFleur to run the ball. I'm telling you what, Bill, he is running the ball, and he ran the ball. He stuck with the run in this game, even though the Cardinals were playing a 5-man front for much of that game. They weren't ripping off huge gains. It wasn't 10, 12, 15 yards. They're getting 4, 5 yards, but sticking with it, staying ahead of the sticks for the most part. Offense staying on schedule because of that. I thought that was outstanding. Outstanding commitment to the run from LaFleur, where I think sometimes in the past maybe he gets away from it. I thought this game he did a great job sticking with it.
Especially when the game starts getting away, right? When the game starts getting away from him and they haven't had the ball a lot or they haven't thrown the ball a lot, then you forcibly want to throw a couple. I know he pointed out that he was upset with himself for the 3 straight passes when the game is kind of in a vice grip.
Yep.
That can happen for sure.
Yep.
But I'm with you. There was more of a dedication earlier on downs to run the football. And that's where, the splits can be somewhat deceiving sometimes, because even in the Rams game, there weren't as many first and second down runs, even though in totality, they ran the ball the same amount of time as they threw it. This time, early to establish was the calling card for the run game. And coming up this week against a pass rush that is going to be pinning their ears back and trying to get after somebody, you got to be able to run it at Anderson and Hunter to be able to slow them down a tick with this Texans defense. So
baby,
you see more and more of the season kind of goes in cycles. And right now, I think they're starting to enter more of, all right, now we've gotten Jordan back into a little bit of a heater. We've gotten his rhythm going. Now let's focus on setting him up and taking a little bit load off the shoulders by running the ball a little bit more.
And I will say, talking about getting your quarterback comfortable, I thought that was something else LaFleur did a really good job of in this game on Sunday, giving what, nothing's easy. I understand, like, the NFL is a very tough business, but, man, there were some layups for Love earlier in that game. And, one of them got deflected. So I get what you're trying to do there with the boot action. Love rolling out to his left. He just kind of mistimed it. But trying to get him some easier throws early in the game rather than dropping back and trying to push the ball downfield right from the jump, I thought that paid off. I thought that gave you dividends for Jordan, who is a bit of a streaky guy, right? You've seen him, kind of struggle out the gate at times. And then once he finds his rhythm, all of a sudden he's 8 of 8. He's 9 of 9. They're moving the ball. They're scoring points. I thought Matt did a phenomenal job of making sure early with the openers, we're going to give him some stuff underneath. We're going to try and get him in that rhythm early. And again, I think you saw that play out in a game where finally, not only did he have some completions and get into that rhythm because of the game plan, but also, to your point, using that running game, quarterback's best friend, get him under center. We saw him under center in this game, I think, more than we've seen him throughout the entirety of 2024. And then utilizing the play action, it all works in concert together. And it's not ever as simple as just do this one thing. But I think when they're doing all of that, that's the mix that we've seen really work with these guys, with this talent collected on offense in Green Bay. That's the formula. That's what you want to see. It's not always going to be easy, but that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and you talking about getting into a rhythm, it then allows you to feel confident enough to throw the 4th and 1 ball down the middle of the field to Christian Watson.
Crazy.
And
that
a lot of
was insane.
The throws remarkable. And Nags, I heard somebody talking about yesterday that, like, that's an Aaron Rodgers throw. People are clipping it, saying, like, this guy, look at how he's throwing it in, and not feeling the same confidence from Packers fans in Jordan making those throws.
Right.
I think we're starting to learn that those are the throws that he will continue to make. Right.
I don't think they're stopping anytime soon.
No, I think some of it is still unearthing what exactly is fully in the repertoire for Jordan, and that will change
and grow and develop over the years. Remember when Rodgers first started out, his best throw, and this was both McCarthy and I think Jennings said this at the start, was that deep 15-yard comeback that they would do up the sideline. Right? They threw that in rhythm, and this wasn't a back shoulder. This was a true comeback, and that was early on his best throw. Now that changed throughout his career, and I think this will change for Jordan. But to your point, watching him grow and develop and learn what is comfortable for him and where he feels like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I've got this. I know this guy I'm throwing to loves when I deliver the ball this way, etc.
Yeah.
Like, he's still in his second year as a starter. I think because he was drafted in 2020, we've had him on the team for so long, people have this maybe perception of, oh, he's this vet who's played all this ball. He's still way, way early in his starting career. And I think that's what's so exciting to see him starting to round into shape these last 2 weeks, obviously coming off the injury. Now, all of a sudden, you get your compliments back at wide receiver, you get that run game going. Man, you're going to start seeing this cat cooking with gas, I think.
Still working on before his 25th start in the NFL, right? Like, I mean, that's
what I'm saying.
Part
right?
Of. And when you do get broke off before reaching, the 50 start mark, I think there's part of the reason why people still have a little bit of the consternation,
right,
a little bit of the nerves. But
I get it.
It's clear that you're starting to grow out of some of that with him. And one of the facets of, or one of the reasons why they've gone so young on the skill position side was the thought that you can grow with those dudes, go through the lumps, you go through the trials, but you also succeed together. And you mentioned it right there of learning what throws this guy likes, right?
Yeah.
Where on a jump ball situation or a comeback to the ball situation for Romeo Doubs, does he like the ball? Where is the best way to lay it out for Jaden Reed?
You kidding me? When they go zero blitz and he utilizes like basically a hop back, step, jump, whatever you want to call it, he knows they've got a free rusher. That's on you as the quarterback to make sure you get the ball out of your hands. Not only does he get out of his hands, but he puts it up and essentially knows that Romeo can come down with it if he puts it in a certain area. I mean, I had people like, oh, well, it's a lucky throw. I don't know, man. I don't know. There's too many of these fadeaway jump type balls that he puts in places where his guys can make plays on them. It's not just winging it. Like, there's an aspect where obviously he's got to adjust in real time. But man, he just makes plays. He makes plays in those situations. It's impressive, man. That's impressive stuff.
It is. It's awesome to be able to just see the buffet table open up with the options, right? And just finding more and more options. And hey, well, my man Ben Sims is making plays like that.
Ben Sims. Although that's a good point, though. Ben Sims there. If that's a better ball from Jordan, he's
touchdown.
Got a chance to score there. Got a chance to score.
You're about to see 89 stride that thing out for 80 plus. That was gonna. Thanks. We did get robbed of a pretty solid highlight right there.
Yeah, no doubt. But hey, shout out to Ben Sims for that fingertip catch, coming back to the ball and making it happen.
Right,
that's a playmaker right there. And Ben Sims stepping in for the injured Luke Musgrave. No one's going to confuse.
Showing that he might just be as fast. Might just be as fast.
Okay, let's slow down. Let's relax. let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's get to some of these. We got super chats up in here on the Cheesehead TV YouTube channel. Starting with Craig saying, Nags, the key is rush discipline. Keep the quarterback in front of you. Thoughts? Go Pack go. I mean, they showed really good rush discipline against Kyler Murray, and I think they've shown really good rush discipline against all the mobile quarterbacks they've faced. Whether that's week 1, whether that's week 2, whether that was last Sunday, I think they've been pretty phenomenal in that regard. Now, I think we're still talking a little bit about the pass rush and the inability to get to the quarterback with 4 guys, but, coming off a game where you pretty much did what you wanted on defense, I'm not going to kind of belabor that point, but I think it's still sitting out there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the same and if the rewatch has shown the same to you. There was a little bit more of 52, right? There was a little bit more in the backfield.
I thought that was
Gary was causing
that was Rashawn's best game. That was Rashawn's best game of the year. No question.
So if we are going to come out here and talk about how it needs to improve, absolutely so. You still want to be able to get guys onto the ground. You still want the sacks and the stats. However, the production was definitely there more this week than we've seen in the
and I'm glad you brought that up because I'm gonna address this real quick before I hear the music coming. We gotta get to break, but I'm gonna give Kenny Clark a shout out because I saw Pro Football Focus had some nonsense about how quote the bad grades he had for that game, tackling being like very poor in their estimation. Man, he is off the ball lightning fast so many times in the first 2 drives that the Cardinals had that he blows everything up, ruins their blocking scheme. Yeah. No, does he make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage? Absolutely not. But he makes the play.
I'd like to watch the film.
Somebody else makes the tackle, fine. But the Packers are up 14-0 in the blink of an eye, in part because the defense gets off the field thanks to the play of Kenny Clark early in that game.
Yeah.
So I get it, man. Everybody sees the numbers. They see the contract extension he was given, the fact that he has a big cap hit, and they cannot wait to rag on Kenny. But I thought Kenny played a pretty darn good game, especially early in that contest, which set up the whole game, set up the whole victory.
Yeah, I'm with you. That, and there was another play early where Rashawn is lined up on the outside. They try to run an outside zone with James Conner, and he absolutely blows it up on the outside. We talk about rush discipline and pass rush. You do also still have to defend the run, and you were one that was all over the fact that if they got Conner going, Sunday could have been a much different game.
They didn't. Long day.
And it was a long, long day for Arizona. Could be a little similar with Joe Mixon coming up this weekend.
Ooh, we'll talk about that on the flip because, busting off, a nearly 60-yarder against the Patriots, looking like he is all the way back from that injury. He's a problem, man. He's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and somehow when you play with a better team, you almost get better. It's crazy. Almost
amazing
like
how that happens.
Kind of like Amari Cooper is hoping to be able to do. He is now being traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo says, hold my carry the G cream ale, New York Jets. You think you're going to get a number 1 receiver? We're going to go trade for one.
Love it.
From
it's
Cleveland.
It's an arms race in the AFC, Billy. All for the right to lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Can't wait. Very excited.
That's exactly it. And that, I think, Nags, might be the most invested upon futures bet here at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Chiefs to win the AFC, because I think there's a lot of people that are sitting there right with you. Hour 2 of Carry the G Radio is off to a robust start. We got some more super chats that are going to get hit up here on the other side.
Yes, sir.
NickLayLaw.com talking text line is open at 414-799-1973. That's when you get to talk to our guy Little Pipe before you talk to Aaron Nagler on Carry the G Radio. What's better than that? 97.3 The Game.
Carry the G radio rolling on this Tuesday afternoon. Bill Schmid, Aaron Nagler holding it down. And look, Green Bay Packers, I hope they're ready to travel a lot in the next couple of years, because we just got the announcement for where the 2028 Super Bowl is going to be held. That's going to be in Atlanta. So we've got New Orleans this year, and then we've got Santa Clara, and then we got Inglewood out there in LA, and then we got Atlanta. So, that's the next 4 Super Bowl sites. Packers are going to be in at least 3 of those, right? They have to.
How do we get back-to-back California Super Bowls? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, man. It's the NFL.
Well, that's unfair.
You got to pay to play, That's how you roll.
You need to get Indianapolis back in there. I mean, come on. What are we talking about? Let's get
Indy
this thing back in the heartland of America.
I mean, Indy way before Minneapolis. I'll say that. 100%.
Way before Minneapolis. Yes, I'd be with you on that one. And you taught me the ins and outs of the Indianapolis scene.
The ways of Indy.
More importantly, it showcases, Nags, that there's such an easy way to have a winter event in the best hosting city in the heart of America.
Zero doubt, zero question. Though all of that said, and I'm here for Indy. I love Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Every Super Bowl should be in New Orleans. Every single one.
Not going to fully argue with
single
that one.
Super Bowl should be in New Orleans. That's it.
I can't wait for it this year. I cannot wait to be down there. Packers
Billy.
And what, Jets?
Chiefs, probably. Come on now.
Yeah,
we
probably
Packers
and Chiefs or Packers.
Their three-peat attempt with the only team that's done it twice. Thank you.
No, well, now I do like that, because it would be the greatest stand for Lombardi's Packers that you possibly could get as the last final person that you have to run through. If
final
you're
boss
is you have to try to run through the Green Bay Packers. I like that. Final boss. You just dropped a wrestling term in here, Nags. Let's go. You're in with The Rock right now. Holy cow, Aaron Nagler.
See,
I did not expect this on a Tuesday.
Like, you say that, but I'm totally talking about, like, I draw from video games when I say final boss. Like, I'm thinking like Mario, like trying to get the final boss, trying to final challenge that he's got to
no doubt about it.
Save the
you
princess.
Beat Bowser one last time.
Exactly. That's my final boss.
Well, and that's interesting that you as you find that, because playing in a video game, that's what Braylon Allen tweeted out. He's like, I feel like I'm in a Madden franchise with what's going on with the New York Jets. Right about there, Braylon. Not far off. To the NFL.
It's about the level that your owner's at. That's kind of how we operate.
Pretty close, yeah. So, pretty close. He's like, where you need to go do something right now.
The NFL, man. The NFL don't stop. NFL don't stop. And you know what else doesn't stop is folks trying to chime in. We got super chats to get to, but we also have, I believe, Jonathan on the line in Green Bay wanting to chat it up here on Carry the G Radio. Jonathan, you there? What's up, man?
Jonathan.
Love your guys' work. Happy to have put a complete game together. I just wanted to give some flowers to the defense. That was a very dominating effort. The back end was tight. On the stat sheet, there wasn't a lot of sacks and stuff, but there were a lot of pressures, a lot of disruption to the pocket. I thought Cooper was flying around. Clay had a decent game. As this defense starts to elevate, the team's going to be a problem for other offenses. I truly believe Bullard was flying around. Obviously, you have X in the post.
Right.
I mean, those guys they've just really held it down. And shout out to Keyshawn Nixon for playing on the boundary.
Yep.
And doing a better than solid job there. I mean, he held it down. I mean, they don't have a lot of wide out threats, but I thought that they did extremely well, and I thought that holding any NFL team to that many points in an entire game, and Arizona doesn't have a bad offense. I mean, they have skill players. I mean, it's not like they didn't have anybody.
I agree.
I think Green Bay locked them down. They put it together, and look out, because if they can keep it rolling and nobody gets hurt, they're going to do damage. They're going to do damage.
Very much agree.
Appreciate the call, Jonathan.
Really appreciate the call. And here's the thing. You talk about, keeping it rolling, Billy. Sunday's a big test. I mean, this is a whole other world they're being living in, other than where they've kind of been existing these last 2 weeks. Like, you just go back to that Vikings game and see how they really struggled there early in that game. And now they made adjustments. They got back into it in that second half. But, I mean, this Texans offense is no joke, and especially with Mixon back in the fold.
Mm-hmm.
This is a true test. And this is kind of the thing, and I like him pointing out, like, Nixon's elevated play, probably a bit unexpected, I would say, there on the boundary.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
That secondary, this is going to be, we talked about it in the first hour, this is a whole other test comparative to where they've been these last 2 weeks. They've gotten some good reps, certainly getting ready for better teams on their schedule. Well, here's the first one. Here's the one that's really going to give you problems. This is a top 5 team in the NFL right now. And by most metrics, definitely one of the best defenses they're going to face all year. Certainly, DVOA has them in the top 10. This is a legit contender coming to Green Bay on Sunday.
Yeah, and a team that's very similar to you, right? And one that is young. Now, they added a lot of veteran players at the skill position side, like you mentioned. With Joe Mixon, they go and add Stephon Diggs. Dalton Schultz has been in the league for a little while, right? But the core of their team, now you won't see the drafted Nico Collins as he's out, but Tank Dell is a young part of their team.
Tank Dell is legit, man. He is a good player.
Yeah, and they got guys that are going to be able to get open all throughout the outside. They also, and this is the part that I think is the most notable, they're a young defense that's coached by a defensive-minded head coach, right?
Really good defense, yes.
So I think that's where Nags, and understandably so, C.J. Stroud garners so many more of the headlines. Will Anderson might have been just as important of a piece to go and draft right after they drafted C.J. Stroud a year ago, because he's everything you need in a headliner starting a defense pass rusher. And then you got a guy who coordinates the defense, the head coach who played linebacker in the NFL for 10 years, and he seemingly is leading Harris and company right to where they have to be. And I also think when you talk about a team that mirrors you a lot, one that a year ago took the league by surprise.
By storm. Yeah, by surprise. However, and by storm.
Then was validated in the offseason by many people's prognostications of them, right? Believing that they're going to pick up right where they left off. And Houston kind of has. They've stubbed their toe once, but that is a unit right there that's coming in.
Well, here's the thing, too. I'm fascinated to watch the defense, and to Jonathan's point, like, they have been playing very well, and they played extremely well against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have been able to move the ball this year and score points, and they're not a joke, right? But the Texans are so different in the sense that Bobby Slowick, their offensive coordinator, the way he uses formation, the way he condenses things, much like Matt LaFleur does, that plays havoc with your secondary as far as, okay, you want to try and man up on some of these receivers or maybe roll coverage or what have you, but they're playing within the hash marks. Like, they're all within the numbers. Like, everything happens. That's what happened in that playoff game against Cleveland last year. Cleveland went down there with a big, bad number 1 defense trying to play press man coverage with their corners. And Bobby Slowick just said, oh, well, I'm just going to condense this all inside the numbers and not going to allow you to get any hands on my receivers. We're going to run all over. And they did. They were really successful with that. And you've seen that kind of thing again this season. He's a very, very good offensive mind. And you talk about a really good test for Hafley as he's, 6 games into his career as an NFL defensive coordinator. This is going to be legit stuff, trying to figure out the ins and outs. And I will say, what I love when you talk about Hafley and this Packers defense so far this season, they have not. They seemingly have really figured things out at halftime. Like, you look all 6 games.
That's a good point, yeah.
They have maybe not shut teams down in the second half, but they have limited scoring every single week after halftime. Like, whatever happens, whatever things they're putting on the field, whatever kind of notes and metrics they're kind of looking at halftime, it has been incredibly effective because coming out of half, the Packers defense has turned it up a notch each and every week. So that's the cat and mouse game I'm interested to see this Sunday.
Yeah, and it also helps when you force a turnover right out of halftime, right? Like, and that's been one of their things, is get a big play out of half and shift the momentum and steal some of it as well. Kuhn brought it up, and it's a very valid point. However, it's a good champagne problem to have. How are you going to get stops when you don't force all these turnovers?
Yeah.
They force a lot of 3 and outs early in that game and
They did.
turnovers late. If you're forcing teams to throw and play out of their rhythm and out of their comfort zone, you are really forcing a lot of those turnovers. So, like, again,
Yes.
this is one where it works in tandem for them to be able to get up early. We're seeing the true identity, I think, of how they want to play.
Yep.
And it is going to be very complimentary. It's going to be both sides of it.
Hey, man, I don't ever want to apologize for guys taking the ball away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
They're not apologizing for that.
Can we
Nope.
maintain that? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I love watching Evan Williams punch the ball out like he's working the bag at the gym.
Yeah.
That was sweet, man. You talk about a mentality. That wasn't just I'm gonna throw my arm in there. I'm gonna kind of give him a shoulder and maybe you'll hit him a little bit, try and get him on the ground. I am punching this thing like the man that carrying it is trying to steal my child. Like this is personal to me.
Yeah.
That's what I saw from that play. The way he plays, the way this defense gets after the football. Carl Brooks, same thing, getting that big old meat hook on the ball and getting the recovery. Like, I want you to go after those offensive players like they are trying to steal from you and your family. That is what they're doing. I love the mentality shift on the Green Bay Packers defense. A defense that, had 17 takeaways all last year? 18, I think, total.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already there this season?
Already there now. And they're doing it with one guy stealing everything up in the air and Xavier McKinney, with everybody ball hawking around. And they're also doing it, Nags, when we're complaining that they don't get enough pressure on the quarterback consistently, which is generally the number one way you generate turnovers. Yeah, could be dicey. Now, we did also ask Evan Williams when he joined us on Packers OT this week if there was going to be a little fine or something for Xavier McKinney. I mean,
for not picking up the ball.
We're kind of counting on you to get an interception per game. He did look at it, which I appreciated. He's like, yeah, I do think we're going to have to do something. I think we're going to have to do something, even if it's just for a joke, because that's just too good.
He's clearly fallen off. He's cooked. He's done. It was a good run. It was a good run in Green Bay, but it's over.
Yeah, might have to look into moving him at the deadline. Move on that contract.
I want to give Soder a shout out on our YouTube chat here. Run the damn ball. Embrace the power of the Luddite. See, now that's what I'm talking about. You get down there, the weather starts to turn. It's Lambeau Field. Run the ball, man. And I think Matt seemingly has a little bit.
He's in with you on that. I think he's kind of in with you on that one. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, I think the Josh Jacobs addition certainly helps in that regard. I think getting Jordan Morgan out there. You mentioned him in the start of the show. I'm excited about this kid, man. Like, a lot to work on, but you can see what they like about him. As far as like his physicality, putting him in the middle of that line and just helping push people around, sealing that's a performance where, man, I get it. I get what they like. I get why they're so. I mean, you remember in training camp, it was like, well, we're having a quote competition, but we're just going to kind of hand the job to the kid here, and then he gets hurt, and then you turn to Sean Ryan, who I thought has played admirably, but man,
performed well.
The physical difference is just so noticeable. Like Morgan's a big guy, and he's pushing people around in a way that Sean Ryan just doesn't. Right?
No, and when you are able to, with a large quarterback like you have, stack a 6'6", 300-some pound tackle in the middle of your team, in your middle of your offensive line, and he can move guys like that next to your 6'5" center and Josh Myers, like it is that is an imposing front, and that's where you start, intimidating people with the amount of running that you do, right? And you have to establish it early. Then you have to lean on it and it be an intimidating factor later on.
No question, man. And look, this doesn't preclude throwing the ball. They throw the play action stuff. They still utilize the passing game. Obviously,
they will
it's
throw
2024 in the NFL. But hey, you throw to score, you run to win. That is what the Packers are doing, and I love it.
That's the recipe I'm talking about.
And
how about this one? How about this one here from Mike Witt on the super chat here on the YouTube? No idea why the NFL put Cardinals and Chargers on Monday Night Football when Stroud and Love is on the exact same week. There's no understanding of this. But Nags, they can start flexing some of these Monday night games. I don't know how many of those they will do. We have our first flex game, and it's the Commanders and Bears going to the 325 slot of Week 8. So next week, picks 1 and 2 go up against each other with the Nance and Romo game. That should be a fun one.
That'll be a good one. I do like Zach's response to Mike's super chat saying, Sundays at noon are the best. That's why.
Might be there with you.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
might
go.
might be there with you. That's
Sundays
exactly
at
it.
noon are the best. Unless Billy, sometimes maybe, every once in a while, maybe go a little too hard on Saturday night. And then those
Then
nooners,
it becomes tough.
Those
Then it
nooners
becomes
literally
tough.
sneak up
Yeah.
on you sometimes, I'll tell you.
Oh,
That was Banky a couple weeks ago, man. That nooner, that crept up on him. Crept up on him bad.
The worst is when you wake up and you're like, oh, it's only 7 o'clock. Okay, I got plenty of time. Wake up. It's 8:45. I don't have plenty of time, and I feel so much worse. How did that happen?
Have plenty of time. See, I really shouldn't throw Corey under the bus because I was the same way this past week. Saturday night went a little hard. Went a little too hard. You know what I mean?
Today, though,
I'm telling you, man.
You
got to rally and tackle. You got to rally and tackle.
Dominated.
You got to rally and tackle, man. That's what you got to do.
You just got to shove all those haters out of the way like Kirby Smart to that Mississippi State quarterback. Just push them up out of the way. Get that hangover out of here.
I'm thinking more Tucker Kraft up the left sideline in L.A. Just,
That's a good one. Just
stiff-arming defensive backs on my way to the end zone. That's what I'm doing. You saw Billy. You didn't even notice. I switched from water to beer. Come on now. Let's go.
Oh, I thought you were going. That's what I'm talking about. Now that's good medicine right there.
It's the hair of the dog. That's what you got to do. Get yourself some Carry the G cream ale out there.
Oh man, I am so jealous. Luckily, they have a lot of cold drinks here at the Potawatomi Sportsbook that I could definitely go in and vibe with here very, very soon because we only got one segment to go and we got some predictions to give here next.
Predictions? Holy Toledo! I'm gonna pull a Mr. T when we get back. Let's get to it.
Oh. All right, can't wait. That's on the other side. He's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid. It's Carry the G Radio, statewide on the game, and on Cheesehead TV's YouTube.
Oh, man. Carry the G radio rolls on into the final segment. I know this is a radio show, but, man, on the YouTube channel, you can see Billy and I just bopping our heads.
Letting it go. Oh, yeah.
Come on. That's Billy, I think you've been usurped when it comes to DJing on this program.
Trust me, I knew that I was going to get shown up when Pipe Bomb strolls into the studio because there's a couple of things that I am illiterate in. One, internet. Two, music. And when we're on an internet program with music, you can really
those weaknesses are gonna come to the fore. That's a problem.
Right to the forefront.
I understand it. I want to give Monty a shout out on Twitter. Who?
Come on, Monty.
I mean, you want to talk about a solution to problems, right? You got a problem, you need a solution. Monty says Panthers aren't going anywhere. Piñeiro's only 29, proven vet, doing well this year. Let's give up a fourth. Just fix this stuff. This stuff being something else. And also, obviously, a reference to having a kicker who can't make a kick. I'm down with this idea. I'd give up a fourth. I'd do it.
You're ready to give up an Evan Williams.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I know they won't. So I can sit here and bellyache into a microphone, and I have zero doubt Gutekunst is in his office going, "Oh, Nagler, that's adorable." And
that's so cute, Aaron.
Nothing's gonna happen. It's just my fan frustration coming out.
Well, next time he's on transplants, just ask him and say, Brian, let's cut to the chase here. What is it gonna take for you too patient? Because I think that's my question here, Aaron. He's the one that admittedly said
it out loud.
I'm not patient enough. That was a full year. So if I'm Braden Arvison and I'm Braden Arvison's agent being like,
I got at least a year.
I got to at least have 12 more games, right? Because you're going to go to the playoffs. I'm going to have at least one chance to down my leg in the playoffs. So you got to think there's at least a little bit more runway here that they're going to give him. I don't know, though. I'm not
Thanks.
positive.
I hate it. So, Billy, we got a big prediction coming up here for Sunday's game.
We go.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking in this matchup between superstar young quarterbacks, teams that were, prognosticated to be in contention this season? What are you thinking?
27-24 Packers game-winning field goal from Braden Arvison.
Oh, baby.
From the right hash.
From the right hash. Exercising all the demons.
No, Dash, we can't push that thing off. We cannot go wide right. If we're lined up on the right hash, just hook that bad boy right through. We don't even have to worry about it pushing off to the right. Just hook that thing right through. 27-24 Pack.
Give me 28-23 Packers.
You scared me there for a second.
They score early and they hang on late, but they get out enough comfortably early in this game because they're at Lambeau, friendly confines, and then they hold on. Though we get a little nervous there at the end.
Okay.
Crowd working a little magic, but Packers get the dub.
That's what I'm talking about. And another celebratory Carry the G radio coming up next week. And for the first time with A.J. Dillon joining the crew, that's the right way to play.
Dillon, the mayor, joining us here live on Carry the G radio. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait for it, man. This is going to be awesome. It's already been a great start to the year, and it's a great one that we have had here today. 2 predictions of Packers victories means that we should be celebrating next week, Tuesday. Great work here today, Nags.
Can't wait. Very excited for the game. Make sure you're checking out Cheesehead TV's watch party of the game. Check out Billy on Packers OT. Pipe Bomb, way to hold it down with the music today. Absolutely outstanding. Carry the G radio. Be back next week. Go Pack Go.